What is going on YouTube? It is your boy MrBaboon back with a reaction video. This time we are reacting to Timeline 1974. There's a lot of stuff that happens. It looks like there's actually a couple of things. They got a few things named in the title, but I will have the video and the channel link down below in the description if you guys want to check it out real fast. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump right into the reaction. So, let's go ahead and get right into this. First, I like
1974 was the year.
Anyway.
1974 was the year everything changed.
Personally figured I was watching something that somebody else would never see again in the world.
Americans learned the president wasn't untouchable, or even that trustworthy, causing a ripple effect of disillusionment. But the year also saw a microbus full of classic shows, movies, and music make their mark on pop culture history. And two sports heroes made the most dramatic statements of their careers. We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, and entertainment, and all that was weird in the 70s. This is Timeline.
Looks like he was doing the show. I think we're going to check.
Get ready for an abrupt turnover at the White House like you've never seen before, because today we're talking 1974. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below.
I will have it down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Make sure you guys do that.
What 70 records you like to spin. Now strap into your rocket cycle and get ready to jump all the president's men. This is 1974. The year would start off as an important moment for nerddom, as the fantasy role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons made its debut in January. Initially developed by Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, and published by the group's homegrown company, Tactical Studies Rules, D&D borrowed heavily from miniature wargaming and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings to become the first tabletop RPG. While it initially frightened mothers around the world, resulting in a brief satanic panic, and a pretty quaint movie starring a young Tom Hanks,
I have spells. I'm going to fly.
D&D has hung around like a lich in a tomb for over 40 years, giving creative nerds around the world a groovy new social outlet. Decidedly ungroovy, President Richard Nixon signed the Emergency Highway Energy Conservation Act on the second day of the year, creating a national speed limit of 55 miles per hour. The act was a response to the OPEC oil embargo enacted the previous year, which threw the U.S. into one of the worst energy crises of the 20th century. The new, lower speed limit was meant to force American drivers to be more fuel efficient. And it stayed on the books until November 28, 1995, nearly 20 years later.
Most people do travel over 55. Most people that travel interstate go 60, 65, or 70 anyway.
Apparently, lobbyist Sammy Hagar's work finally paid off. Speaking of music, The Joker by Steve Miller Band hit the top of the Billboard Hot 100 on January 12th. The meta stoner anthem, peppered with references to the band's earlier songs and a Hall of Fame nonsense word, has sold over 5 million copies in the U.S. We still don't know what the hell a pompatus is, but we dig it.
Can I talk to you for a minute, Fonz, outside?
Yeah, we'll talk right
I
here.
don't know what that
Well,
is.
it's kind of personal.
Oh, personal, yeah. Hey, Vivian, go out and find me a fallen star, will you? Be back in 5 minutes.
I don't have a watch.
Hey, count one, Mississippi. She's got great lips.
What's the worth of a man? For Steve Austin, it's $6 million. Steve Austin is the $6 million man, and he's worth every penny.
In late January, McDonald's CEO Ray Kroc threw down a few stacks of his McMillions to buy MLB's San Diego Padres. Kroc, who had retired from running the Golden Arches the previous year, made quite the steal purchasing the Pods for a cool $12 million, preventing a move that would have relocated the Padres to Washington, D.C. Heading into the 1st of February, 21-year-old University of Washington student Linda Ann Healy vanished from her apartment in the early morning hours of February 1st. Healy's remains were discovered by forestry students on Taylor Mountain in Sonoma County, California, a year later. Although nobody knew it yet, Healy was the first documented victim of Ted Bundy. Bundy was not done wreaking havoc. More on him to come later in the 70s. The next day, pop icon Barbra Streisand scored her first #1 hit with The Way We Were, which hit the top spot on the Billboard Hot 100. The first EGOT winner, that's Emmys, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, was already an established singer and actress. In fact, The Way We Were was the theme song of the 1973 film of the same name, which starred Streisand and earned her a second Oscar nomination for Best Actress. The 70s were good to Babs. 2 days later, 19-year-old heiress Patty Hearst was abducted from her apartment by the Symbionese Liberation Army on February 4th. The leftist terrorist organization dragged Hearst, who was millionaire publisher William Randolph Hearst's granddaughter, into the car in a hail of gunfire and demanded that the Hearst family distribute millions of dollars of food to needy people across California.
Mr. Hearst wants to save his daughter. Each Tuesday, Thursday, and
This is my first time even hearing about this.
Saturday for 4 successive weeks, each person with one of the listed cards can go to publicized stores and pick up their food.
The family attempted to comply, but the kidnappers didn't release Patty. Something much more unexpected happened. 2 months after her abduction, a surveillance camera caught Hearst helping the SLA rob a bank in San Francisco. She then released a statement declaring that she had willingly joined the organization.
I've been given the choice of 1, being released in a safe area, or 2, joining the forces of the Symbionese Liberation Army.
Well, that took a twist.
I've chosen to stay and fight.
This cliffhanger plot twist will finish playing out next year.
Damn.
We'll be right back.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus. And this is your brain when you're in the zone. But getting in the zone and staying there.
You are about to witness the most amazing man-made jewelry ever created. The original multicolor mood ring. This is the ring that senses your deepest feelings. Scientifically developed, the incredible chroma stone senses thermal changes deep within your body, reflects all your mood changes in a fascinating kaleidoscope of color. Discover the mysterious powers of the multicolor mood ring in elegant gold or silver tone settings. Dare to wear the original multicolor mood ring with the fascinating chroma stone. Only $5 while supplies last.
Boy, is he stripped. Gotta get in there close and find out what's happening. There's our ticket.
Hey, boys! Look what I got here! Hey, where are the white women at?
To be a TV star, you got to be a real natural. My husband James used to have slow blood.
Thanks to Vita Bright Health Tonic, my blood is fast, fast, fast.
Vito Bright is dynamite.
Jaws made a bodacious splash in the world of shark fiction on the 10th. The best-selling thriller, written by first-time novelist Peter Benchley, caused a feeding frenzy among Hollywood executives. The film rights to the story were sold before it even hit bookstores. Producers at Universal Studios hired an up-and-coming filmmaker named Steven Spielberg to direct the movie version. We'll see if that film did anything next year. Speaking of buzz, Army Private Robert K. Preston buzzed the White House in a stolen helicopter on February 17th. The 20-year-old soldier led police helicopters on a chase through the National Mall before the Secret Service opened fire on him, forcing him to land on the White House's South Lawn with minor injury.
Shit.
His intentions was to fly the aircraft directly into the White House.
Preston later claimed that he had joined the Army hoping to become a helicopter pilot and was upset that he'd been made a mechanic instead. Well, that's one way to show him what you got. Preston ultimately served 2 months in prison and was dishonorably discharged. Bummer. Speaking of broken dreams, Cher split from Sonny Bono on the 20th, ending the musical power couple after more than a decade in the spotlight. As a duo, Sonny and Cher released their #1 hit, I Got You, Babe, and hosted a popular variety show featuring their playful bickering.
Folks, I could have sang in any one of those musicals, really, because
Yeah, I know one you would have been great for. The Wizard of Oz.
Apparently, that bickering wasn't all that playful. The two were already living in separate homes by the show's 3rd season, and were officially divorced 1 year later.
Damn.
Jumping ahead to late March, a group of Chinese farmers digging a well just outside of Xi'an discovered an underground chamber containing 6,000 life-sized terracotta warriors on the 29th. The famous terracotta army was revealed to be guarding the tomb of the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, who ruled back in 221 BCE. The site turned out to be a sprawling 20-mile complex containing a palace, a burial pyramid, offices, and 2 other pits containing even more terracotta warriors. Far out. Heading into April, Swedish pop group ABBA won the Eurovision Song Contest on the 6th with their song...
Question, can you actually go see that? Like, can you go see those? Can you see that? If you can, that would be so dope to go see one day.
Waterloo. It was the first Eurovision victory in Sweden's history, and it turned out to be the breakthrough moment the band was looking for. Waterloo became an international hit and made ABBA superstars, and the group remains one of the most popular and best-selling acts of all time. Speaking of all-time moments, we turn to sports as Hammer and Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's career home run record 2 days later.
What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a black man.
Later, as Hammer and Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's career home run record 2 days later.
What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation.
I didn't know he broke the record just 2 days later.
In the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol.
In the 4th inning against the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Braves' star right fielder spanked his 715th dinger at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. Aaron finished his baseball career with a staggering 755 homers, a record that stood for just over 31 years until San Francisco Giants slugger Barry Bonds broke it in August of 2007. But, you know, juicing. 3 months after abducting Patty Hearst, the Symbionese Liberation Army engaged the LAPD in one of the largest police shootouts in history on May 17th. 500 Los Angeles officers raided an SLA safe house in Compton, resulting in an explosive exchange during which more than 9,000 rounds were fired. Police accidentally set fire to the house during the gunfight, which burned to the ground as all 6 SLA members inside perished. Near the end of May, legendary jazz pianist and composer Duke Ellington passed away. Ellington, who had just turned 75 the previous month, is one of the biggest figures in jazz music history. He popularized big band jazz music as a regular fixture at Harlem's Cotton Club, and as a sought-after band leader and a songwriter for over 50 years. Heading into June, arguably the most ill-conceived promotion in sports history went down on the 4th, otherwise known as 10-cent beer night. The Cleveland Indians lured fans to a game against the Houston Astros by offering as much beer as they could drink for just a dime a pop. Fans became so drunk and unruly that an actual riot broke out in the 9th inning, with people rushing out onto the field to attack the players with makeshift weapons.
Pretty poor timing for a beer night to start with. After the incident in Dallas, where the 2 teams fought, led to a very unpleasant situation.
The Indians were forced to forfeit the game, and a firm 4-drink limit was placed on the remaining 10-cent beer nights Cleveland had already scheduled. In mid-June, Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein published their explosive nonfiction bestseller, All the President's Men. The book was a detailed collection of the duo's ongoing investigation of the Watergate scandal, including Woodward's meetings with the mysterious Deep Throat, an inside source who provided the journalists with vital information. Deep Throat was later revealed to be FBI Associate Director Mark Felt, although Woodward and Bernstein kept his identity a secret until Felt revealed it himself in 2005 at the age of 91.
We'll be right back.
At Burst Form, our industry-leading nutritional supplements.
So we just mute this. How is everyone doing? Let me know. Hopefully everyone's doing good. Hopefully you guys are doing good and everything. Staying safe, all that good stuff. Positivity and stuff, you know. Hopefully you guys are. You know, I could've that. I don't know why I did it.
By reaching out to see things differently, man's genius is now helping to free him from his earthly home. The amazing electronic devices like this one, designed for Quasar Color TV. It's part of our continuing improvement in 100% solid-state design, where solid-state devices contribute to your confidence in the set you buy.
Reach out for Quasar.
The first Universal Product Code, or UPC code, was scanned on June 26th in Troy, Ohio, to sell a pack of Wrigley's chewing gum. The now ubiquitous codes were designed by 2 Drexel University graduate students to create a streamlined system for grocery stores to price and track their inventory, because people used to have to do all that by hand. Speaking of bold ideas, General Augusto Pinochet declared himself Supreme Chief Chile the next day, after seizing power from President Salvador Allende in a military coup the previous year. Initially, Pinochet was meant to share power with other members of the junta, but he quickly decided that it was best for everyone if he ran the whole thing. Pinochet remained dictator of Chile until he was actually voted out of power, and democracy was restored on March 11, 1990. Pinochet stuck around as the commander-in-chief of Chile's armed forces until 1998, when he was finally arrested for crimes against humanity. But a wall of international red tape and his failing health kept him out of prison until he passed away in 2006, before he could stand trial. 3 weeks later, former Beatle John Lennon was ordered to vacate the United States in 60 days on the 18th of Hey July. Yeah, we know he didn't write that song, but he should have. Come on, it's about his son. The deportation stemmed from a 1968 marijuana charge the songwriter had received in the UK. Lennon's strong anti-war stance, coupled with his popularity among young Americans, made him a target of the Nixon administration, who believed he posed a serious threat to Nixon's re-election. But the walrus wouldn't have to sweat Tricky Dick much longer. More on that after a quick word from Charles Bronson and the Professor.
This is the story of a man who decided to clean up the most violent town in the world. Never make a death wish, because a death wish always comes true.
In a story forced upon us by our producer, Neil Peart officially joined the band Rush in late July. Peart hopped on the Canadian...
I might have seen that movie, by the way. I don't know. I might have to find it.
Power rock trio after original drummer left the band due to a lifelong illness. The Professor would stay with the band for over 40 years. Not a bad run. Moving into August, Richard Milhouse Nixon made history on the 8th when he announced to the American people his intention to resign from the office of the presidency the next day.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Nixon had finally turned over his tapes of recorded conversations in the Oval Office to the Justice Department 3 days earlier, the content of which undeniably incriminated him as a co-conspirator in the Watergate break-in and subsequent cover-up. Spiro Agnew, Nixon's vice president, had resigned a year earlier in disgrace while pleading no contest to an unrelated charge of tax evasion. Gerald Ford was sworn in moments after Nixon's resignation and gave the former president a blanket pardon for any crimes committed while in office. 8 days later, punk godfathers the Ramones made their concert debut at New York City's CBGB on the 16th. Often credited with being the first punk rock band, the group churned out classics like Blitzkrieg Bop and I Want to Be Sedated over a 2-decade career of non-stop touring and recording. They're considered one of the most influential artists of the past 50 years, which is pretty groovy for a band that never had much commercial success. Hero pilot Charles Lindbergh took his final flight on August 26th, passing into the clouds at age 72. Lucky Lindy made history in his small monoplane, the Spirit of St. Louis, when he became the first person to complete a solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean on May 21st, 1927. He made history a second time under much more tragic circumstances, when his young son was abducted from his home on March 1st, 1932, and found dead several months later. The kidnapping and subsequent slaying of Charles Jr. became known as the crime of the century. Staying with aviation news as we move into September, the SR-71 Blackbird flew from New York City to London in under 2 hours on the 1st of September, setting the speed record for transatlantic travel that stands to this day. The Lockheed jet, piloted by Air Force Majors James Sullivan and Noel Whitfield, completed its journey in 1 hour and 45 minutes, touching down in London in less time than it takes to watch a Grateful Dead concert.
Wow, where does it go? Come on, let's go down and see.
The time doorway cannot be used for anything until this paradox is resolved.
But that means we'll be killed!
You have a fine grasp of the obvious.
Legendary daredevil and every 70s boy hero, Evel Knievel, attempted to jump a rocket-powered motorcycle over Idaho's Snake River Canyon on September 8th. The stunt was actually a compromise. Knievel had originally intended to jump the Grand Canyon, but the man told him absolutely not. Suits, they always harsh everyone's groove. Unfortunately, a parachute deployed too early, cutting the jump short in less than spectacular fashion.
When I punched that fire button and that thing hit, all I saw was blue sky, but then I lost all perspective. I may have blacked out, I don't know.
Luckily, and for once, Knievel walked away with relatively minor injury.
It's all right. Everything's all right. What? There were 2 raccoons. The one that killed the chickens. It's Jasper out there now. He sat up and begged. It was the prettiest sight I ever saw.
Why don't you guys go back to Disneyland and leave me alone, huh? Well, I hope nobody forgot the peanut butter sandwiches. If Agent Slater lays a hand on me, I'm gonna close it up like a cherry stone. You're gonna be talking to my lawyer. Who's doing your material? It's really monotonous.
The month of October would begin with a landmark horror film.
What happened was true, just as terrifying as being there. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
TV lost one of its most influential figures on October 13th, when popular variety show host Ed Sullivan passed away at age 73. Sullivan's eponymous weekly program, The Ed Sullivan Show, had ended just 3 years earlier in 1971. That's one way to enjoy retirement.
We'll be right back.
And you can dine for $1.99 at Sambo's. Now, till May 11th, our dinner special is Sambo's all-beef chopped steak, chili and beans, soup or salad, dinner bread, beverage, and dessert.
Something good is always cooking at Sambo's.
The United States Air Force got into the Halloween spirit by launching one of the most frightening weapons in history on October 25th. An ICBM, or Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, was successfully dropped from a plane for the first time as part of America's strategy to develop more mobile methods of delivering nuclear payloads. Previously, ICBMs had to be launched from stationary underground silos or from nuclear submarines. The test did not help escalating Cold War tensions. 5 days later, Muhammad Ali defeated George Foreman during the legendary Rumble in the Jungle bout in Kinshasa, Zaire, to become the world heavyweight champion for a second time. Ali let Foreman wear himself out using his famous rope-a-dope technique for the first 7 rounds before striking with a flurry of his own to KO the reigning champ in the final seconds of round 8. The Rumble in the Jungle remains one of the most celebrated fights in boxing history. We next go to space, where the first message from Earth was transmitted into the stars on November 16th. Known as the Arecibo message, because it was sent from the Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, the transmission contained formulas and equations describing DNA, as well as some figures about the planet's population and a return address, should any aliens ever want to come visit. The message was meant more as a demonstration of human ingenuity and technology rather than an earnest attempt to contact aliens, even though Carl Sagan did help create it. 5 days later, Congress overrode Gerald Ford's presidential veto to expand the Freedom of Information Act and strengthen the Privacy Act of 1974. Both measures were a direct response to the Watergate scandal, designed to make the government more transparent and accountable, and to limit the government's ability to surveil its own people. According to documents declassified in 2004, Ford was encouraged to try to slap the bill down by Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney. Speaking of old people, the most complete skeleton of an early human ancestor yet discovered was found in Ethiopia 3 days later. The fossilized skeleton of Australopithecus afarensis was uncovered by a team of scientists led by American paleoanthropologist Donald Johanson and French geologist Maurice Taïb, and was nicknamed Lucy after the Beatles' song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. December saw the end of one beloved TV show and the continuation of 2 major franchises.
I don't know. Mr. Wentworth just told me to come in here and say that there was trouble at the mill, that's all. I didn't expect a kind of Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
What's going on? What the hell you doing now, boy? You're not thinking that...
I sure am, boy.
Never heard of Evel Knievel?
There's a plane waiting for us to take us to Miami in an hour. We'll make a big thing about it. I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
Little-known guitarist Lindsey Buckingham and singer Stevie Nicks closed out the year by joining the rock group Fleetwood Mac on December 31st. The duo had recorded an album the previous year under the name Buckingham Nicks. Although Fleetwood Mac had previously enjoyed some success, the addition of Buckingham and Nicks would jettison them to global superstardom. But we'll hear more about that in a future episode. And so, 1974 came to a close, with the future looking bright for America, a rock group, and an Oscar-winning film series. 1975 was stretching its bell-bottomed legs just over the horizon, ready to boogie into view with a really big fish, the fall of Saigon, and the founding of a small computer company called Microsoft. But that is all for next year. Coming soon, 1975. So what do you think?
So, definitely going to be reacting to 1975 here soon. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comments. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys stay safe. Positivity is key. Motivation is key. Happiness is key. Check the description. I got the channel and the video link down below in the description if you guys want to watch it. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys stay safe. Watch out for each other. See you guys in the next one.